Hi everyone! In this 5-minute AMP concept review, we will go over anatomical directional terms and how to use them properly. This is a common concept that is missed by students in how to relate two parts of the body with these directional terms. We have superior, inferior, anterior, posterior. Know that for humans, anterior is the same as ventral, posterior is the same as dorsal. And then you have medial, lateral, proximal, distal, superficial, and deep. I will be using this skeleton to relate different body parts to each other using these terms. So, easy way to use superior and inferior is on top and bottom, okay? Top and bottom, not meaning layer top and bottom, because that's for the other term. Superior and inferior is talking about top and bottom, like that. So for example, we can say the skull is superior to the sternum or the ribs. Or you can say the ribs is inferior to the skull, okay? If you put all these body parts into normal directional terms, then you will know which is the correct directional term to use. For example, if you compare head with the ribs again, you would say, oh, the head is on top of the ribs. That's why the head is superior to the ribs, or the skull is superior to the ribs. And for anterior, posterior, you have to make sure we're talking about anterior being in front, posterior being in the back. So for humans who is a bipedal stand-up anatomical position, you have to make sure to remember ventral is the same as anterior for humans. Ventral means the tummy side or abdominal side. Dorsal means the back side or posterior for humans. If an easy way to remember dorsal is dorsal fin of fish, then you know it's the back side. So if I was to relate the, let's say, trachea, which kind of sits right there, it's an airway that goes into our lungs from our oral and nasal cavity. So the trachea kind of sits in front of the vertebral column. So I would say the trachea, which is a hollow tube right here, is anterior to the vertebral column, or the other way around, vertebral column is posterior to the trachea, okay, which is the hollow tube right there, okay? So remember, you're talking about in front of versus in back of, okay? The trachea is in front of the vertebral column, vice versa. Medial and lateral, also very straightforward. Medial means towards the center of the body. Lateral means to the side of the body. So if I was to describe shoulders with respect to the sternum bone right there, we would say the shoulders are to the side of the sternum. Proper anatomical term, you have shoulders are lateral to the sternum, or you can say the other way around. Sternum is medial to the shoulders, or that the sternum is medial or to the center of the shoulders. Another example is, for example, the nose. Nose is medial to the eyes, or eyes are lateral to the nose. The next set of terms is usually confusing for some students is proximal versus distal. Know that this is defined as how close you are to the trunk, which is this portion of the body. If we're comparing shoulder and elbow, two joints, which one is closer to the trunk of the body? Is it the shoulder or is it the elbow? The shoulder is closer to the trunk of the body, whereas elbow is farther away from the trunk of the body. So hence, your shoulder is closer, proximal to the elbow, okay? Again, the other way around. Elbow can also be say is distal to the shoulder. Same thing for the hips, where we have hips is proximal to the knee, or knee is distal to the hips. Hip is closer to the trunk of the body compared to the knees. And the other thing you have to be aware of when using these anatomical directional terms is you may have to make sure your skeleton is in anatomical, or the body is in anatomical position. So palms is actually facing forward. Hence, if we're to describe position of thumb to pinky, thumb is actually to the side of the pinky. So thumb is lateral to the pinky, okay? Last one, superficial versus deep. This is when we're talking about layers. So let's say we're talking about inside the skull, there's a brain. So we want to relate brain to the skull. We would say brain is inside layer to the skull, which means brain is deep to the skull. Or the other way around, the skull is superficial to the brain. Again, you just put the normal word in there first. Skull is on top of by layer from the brain. So hence, skull is superficial to the brain. I hope this helps you use these directional terms correctly.